Okay, so I'm with David Zellner for Kumiko, the Treasure Hunter. Congratulations on a beautiful film, David, and I guess the same would be extended to Nathan, but he's not here with you right now.
Thank you. Yeah, he has a newborn baby, so he's
there's
home.
A new addition.
Yeah, so he's home being a dad.
So your Uncle Zellner is on the road right now,
Yes.
covering the bases.
Yeah.
This interview is taking place at Fantasia, which is a good, I'd say, about 6 months after your premiere. You've been all over the world showing the film. I was curious as to what the reaction was. I mean, I think you guys had said in an interview, I think it was on the Sundance Channel, that that you like seeing that participation between the film and odds. I was wondering if this specific film had different reactions depending on the locations that the festivals that you had.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Not that it's a polarizing film, but it does.
I think our last one, Kid Thing, was more polarizing, so it would get it was a wildly different depending where we show it. But this, in general, I think there's things like time of day and the venue, and those are certain variables. But it's been nice, showing in all kinds of different countries and having it resonate with people, because there's elements of different cultures and things like that, but we're from our approach to it was focused on it from just like a very kind of human, universal approach in terms of the place that she's in personally.
Yeah, the themes are not. Yeah. It's not region specific. It's very much. I mean, it's a global thing that we're wrestling with. Which the first one is that feeling of isolation of
definitely. Yeah, and I think that's something that people can relate to regardless of where they're from or their socioeconomic background or anything like that. It's just it's part of the human condition, and so it's been nice that because of that it resonates.
Have you had the chance to premiere in Japan? Has it been picked up for a Japanese release?
No, it's being sorted out right now, and we haven't shown in Japan. I'm very much looking forward to that because we had such a great time shooting there and loved the people we worked with so much. But it's been nice when we've shown. I don't know, like particularly when we showed in Berlin. There's a lot of Japanese audience members there that came up afterwards and loved our portrayal of Japan. Which this film is heavily stylized, obviously, but we didn't want it to feel like white guys from Texas, doing Japan. Everything in the film is from Kumiko's point of view, so we wanted it to be very much,
of course,
of her world, and people that know far better than us have been responsive to that element of it. So that was a huge validation.
What I really appreciate about your character is that she has two set of traits. She's very methodical, determined, willing to put all the chips into one stack and to pursue what she's pursuing, which is this treasure. There's something nice about that. But then she's got she's running amok in her personal life and stuff. So going back to when you and Nathan had read that snippet of a news headline, was that the basic idea that festered into your thinking of how to develop this character, how to create this character, is like that there are these two parallel contradicting worlds?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are complex, and one aspect of their life could be very structured and organized and very clear, and then others can be a complete mess. And so we wanted her to be this. On one hand, it's a quest film; she's on a journey, but we wanted her to be this complex, troubled person that where her motives and actions and state are not so easily defined, yet relatable, like on a human level.
So I want to know what the challenges were of first shooting abroad, maybe in a zone that you're not familiar with, and how you built that strategy, that visual mapping strategy with Sean. Maybe you can just detail that a bit.
Yeah. Let's see. from the script stage, I don't know, just
You guys do a storyboard?
no, I don't do storyboard, but from the script stage, it's very visual. It's almost the scenes are almost mapped, without getting boring. You know, we try to map out the visual elements of the script and have everything kind of figured. Just because I'm so visually minded. And so it's partly to make it clear for the people reading the script, but then also that's just the way my mind works. And then we like to have everything, kind of planned out in that way, to a T, basically. But then leave breathing room when we get on location based on if rehearsal and performance, or if the location's not exactly how we visualized it, adapting and having things come up in a spontaneous manner that are far more interesting than all the planning you could do. And Sean, it was really great collaborating with him because we had a distinct point of view that we came into it with. We weren't, we didn't. The film wasn't made in post. We wasn't covered from a million angles. We committed to doing the scene a certain way.
You get a strong sense of that. You can tell that from the get-go.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And it's just those are the films that I like, and it's I wanted to make something that justified being on the big screen. Wanted to make something cinematic. That was the kind of film we wanted to make, and then it fit the story tonally too, because it's a character piece in a lot of ways, but we wanted it to have, but it's a quest film as well, so we wanted to give it this kind of epic feel, and that's why we shot anamorphic, and really wanted to make the landscapes both in Japan and America like characters in the film, and give this kind of vastness, even though it's very insular in a lot of ways.
Compared with your previous work, which is much more overt in the comedic range, this one's very specific, and it has not a stronger purpose, but it has a very specific. The timing is very, very ingenious, I think.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think with that we wanted, the kind of films that I've always liked, that I respond to the most. I like all kinds of films, but I like it when I like films that aren't so easily defined as like comedy or drama, and where they kind of ride that line. Again, this is heavily stylized, but I feel like it's reflective of life, and that comedy and drama are interwoven, and also just a matter of perspective, in terms of who of how close you are to the tragedy or not. And so just humor always kind of comes in even if we plan to try to not go that way. When we just kind of let it come in naturally when it feels right. And with Kumiko, we never wanted it to be at her expense, because she's such an easy target. It'd be really easy just to be really cold and brutal and just pick her apart and make fun of her. But everything is from her point of view. And that kind of film doesn't interest me. And then for this, and then also everything is from her point of view, and in her mind she's this hero on this journey, and so we wanted to validate her actions based on her perspective, and not have the humor be at her expense, have it come up kind of circumstantially, either from things in Japan, like with the office politics, to in America with things that would be banal to people from the American Midwest, but to her are strange and foreign, just simply as someone from another country, but then also because of her kind of level of isolation that kind of adds a heightened sense.
Bringing Fargo into the discussion, I remember having war of words with many people that were offended by Fargo, where there's moments where I would laugh and they would find it's really dark. So it's funny that, there's characters doing the most crazy actions in that film, and in a way the Coen brothers are much more, how could I say this? They're much more meaner to their character set, whereas as your, and again I'm comparing apples and oranges here, but I find that an interesting parallel.
Yeah, well, with Kumiko, we since she's so, I don't know, we just felt like with her, and there's a time and place for it and for everything, but with her we needed to take a gentle approach, and since it is so distinctly from her perspective, that to be on her side.
There's a sincerity there.
Yeah, and that's also going back to the visual element. That's also, that's the kind of film we wanted to make, and we've, but it also suited in terms of her being alone so much. Like it was necessary to provide as much information visually and through other means rather than, the last thing we wanted would be like a voiceover or internal monologue or useless exposition, conveyed to people around her. So those sorts of things. So and the films that can have a little bit of enough information to keep you engaged on an emotional level, but a certain ambiguity to where you're allowed to think for yourself and kind of fill in the gaps. Those are the kind of films that are most satisfying to me, and that's what we wanted to do with this one.
It's moving on to the score. You walked away at Sundance with an award, Best Score, Octopus Project. Folks, I've never heard of them, but they're based out of Austin, as you guys are. So I wanted to know. Of course, I've seen Fargo way too many times. Some people would say unhealthy. I say very healthy ratio.
It's never unhealthy.
No, especially this film. What was what kind of a mandate did you give them? I did notice that one of the sections did take a Fargo number and reworked it.
Oh no, that's funny.
You sure about that?
I'm positive. Yeah.
How can that be?
Because
I've read.
I think it's funny. I think some of it because we really wanted and I haven't seen that film in a long time. We really wanted it to be its own, the score to be its own kind of piece, and in terms of like going over references, we wanted the things that were most.
I was thinking of Eraserhead.
Oh, I mean, I love the music. I mean, I'm a huge fan of David Lynch, and particularly like I love the sound design. The way he uses sound design is so amazing. I love the music in his film. So, I mean, that's just like a general like subconscious inspiration. But I think directly with the score, we talked about just a lot of like German prog rock, and then the original Solaris soundtrack. And then a little bit of the band 10cc. I think we talked about so random stuff like that. And with Octopus Project, who we've worked with for the past 10 years, we've done several of their music videos, and they've done music for a lot of our films. We just have a great collaboration, and I'm a huge audiophile, and they're big cinephiles, and so we have a shorthand with that sort of thing, and then the way we everyone has a different method. Some people do things very linearly where they lock picture and then hand it over to the composer, and they build it around that, and then the sound design
walks in and
does all that. And we like it where there's a little more overlap. I love scores where the sound design weaves into the music, and you can't tell where one ends and one begins. And I like it when it's done really subtly, with like Lynch, and then I love it when it's really garish and big, like one of my favorite soundtracks is the Flash Gordon soundtrack by Queen, and it has the sound, the laser sound effects are part of the score, and it's all just one big bombastic piece. And so with this, while we were editing, they were working on the score concurrently, and would give us a piece of music, and sometimes their music would influence our edit, or our edit would influence the music, and sometimes it wouldn't. The music wouldn't fit where we initially thought it would, and it would then serendipitously work somewhere else. So that's
rarely done in the industry, from what I know.
Yeah, it was fun being able to explore. And we're working, especially in post, we worked on a really, really tiny budget with very few people, which has its challenges, but it allowed us the freedom to kind of have that structure. And then my brother Nathan does the sound design, and so we were able to do that at the same time too. I think sound design is such an underutilized tool with filmmaking. I think part of it. I don't know why. I mean, I think maybe part of it is because that's like one of the very last things people do, and so you're either out of time or out of money, and so it's just you just kind of want to get through it, or have to get through it. But I love when doing it, while you're in the midst of the edit. Also, like a lot of the sound design would dictate our edits too, so we felt like it made our job easier to be able to. It took a little longer at that point, but it made our job easier in the long run in terms of feeling